Good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Dennison, the Senior Communications Manager for the Department of Land and Natural Resources, and we want to give you what appears to be a weekly update on the mother monk seal Rocky and her pup Kaimana, who have been here for 40 days now since the mom gave birth to the pup. And so we have a series of speakers as usual. We would ask that you make note of all your questions and hold them until everyone has spoken, and then direct your questions to the appropriate person as much as possible. So our speakers this morning are David Schofield, who is the NOAA Fisheries Regional Marine Mammal Response Coordinator, followed by Department of Land and Natural Resources Chairperson Suzanne Case, followed by Dr. Bruce Anderson, who's the Administrator for the DLNR Division of Aquatic Resources, and then Jim Howe, who is the Director of the Honolulu Emergency Services Department, and last but not least, John Gelman, who leads the volunteers from Hawaii Marine Animal Rescue, who have been down here steadfastly since the very beginning. And with that, Dave Schofield.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you again for covering the story, the ongoing story of Kaimana and Rocky. We really appreciate the coverage that you've provided and the outreach that lends itself to inform the public about correct behavior around monk seals. And so, as you've been reporting, Rocky is soon to wean her pup, Kaimana, and she will go on her way. And it'll probably be a very abrupt situation, and that may make some people sad or think that that's maybe cruel or harsh. But monk seals are not like people, where we may stay at home up until we're 18 or maybe into our 30s, depending on who you are. But monk seals will, this is what they've evolved to do. They will, as we've been saying, they will rear their pups for 5 to 7 weeks. Rocky, we know very well. She's had 9 pups before, and she will wean those pups between 39 and 42 days. So this week right now that we're in is within that window that we would expect that Rocky would wean her pup and leave the pup there on the beach. So what we will then be confronted with is a weaned monk seal that's very, very impressionable here in a very highly populated, highly used beach. And in the past, we've come to learn that it's during those time frames that if seals are not given the opportunity to remain wild, that they can socialize to people and acquire what we call undesirable behaviors, where they can become too friendly with people. And so it is for that reason, with a concern about, given all the outreach that we've done here, and there's still interactions between the public and the monk seal, given that concern. And then, of course, the other thing that you've been covering a lot is the seal's entry into the natatorium. And as we've mentioned before, we're very concerned about the seals going into the natatorium, even though they've been able to find their way out now on 2 occasions, one just as recently as last night. There's still unforeseen or unknown hazards of confined space and entrapment, rebar, just a deteriorating infrastructure, and that's really no place for a Hawaiian monk seal. So it's for that reason that NOAA Fisheries, along with partners, have been planning and will take upon the relocation of the pup. So once the mom weans the pup and we're sure that the mom has gone away for good, the pup will be relocated to an undisclosed location here on Oahu, where there are other seals, other chances for it to remain wild or be a wild seal. So a more natural environment, less people, less intrusions, less risk for entrapment, human interaction, and things like that. And so we've done this now for many years. NOAA has relocated monk seals. And we find that if we take the monk seals when they're young and still learning a lot in their life and still impressionable, still maybe a little naive to the world, if we move them very quickly after weaning and place them on a beach, they fare as well as a pup that was born on a specific beach. So again, it may seem like a little bit of a harsh move to some people, but we've had success with this in the past. And if we weigh the risks of moving the seal against the risks of it staying here, it's a real obvious choice that we need to keep the seal wild. Again, it's a female. We want to be able to have her be protected and live a wild life so that she'll someday have her own babies. Her mom has had 10 babies, and we want Kaimana to live to have the same experience, to have 10 babies or more to help recover the endangered population. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chair Case.
The last 40 days have been a really extraordinary opportunity for us, all members of the public, to get to know Rocky and her pup Kaimana and to see the world from their eyes. And it's been really a wonderful opportunity for all of us to experience this. And so first of all, I want to thank all the members of the public for their patience and respect for the safety zones that have been established, and it's allowed people to continue to use the beach and the water, and at the same time stay safe. And the question of safety has been fundamental for us, DLNR, NOAA, and partners, Ocean Safety, both for the seals themselves and for the public. And so for that reason, DLNR supports the decision, the collective decision to relocate Kaimana the pup. It's been a long discussion, a careful evaluation of risks, both of staying here and of going off to other locations. It's a wild world out there, and there are dangers for a pup anywhere. Here, obviously, dangers of too much interaction with the public and dangers of wandering into the natatorium. But we also have dangers out there in the wild, and so I would ask fishers to please consider using barbless hooks. Barbed hooks are a very real danger to monk seals. And also I'd ask fishers to make sure any laid gill nets are properly used. They cannot be left unattended for 30 minutes or more. And there have been several drownings related to the nets. And we're very concerned about that, and ask members of the public to report any laid gill nets or derelict nets they see in the water, because we want to make the ocean as safe as possible for monk seals, turtles, and other wildlife. Thank you.
Morning, I'm Bruce Anderson. I'm the administrator for the Division of Aquatic Resources. I just wanted to elaborate a little bit more on the science behind the decision to move the seal pup. When seals are weaned, and the weaning of this seal is imminent, it'll happen in the next day or two. They tend to explore more, forage for food, and are much more likely to get into trouble, particularly in situations like this. It's a natural behavior on their part to want to explore things. It takes a few weeks before they can actually eat, and during that period of time, they're inquisitive like any other animal would be. There are concerns about the seal interacting with people here. People have been extraordinarily respectful of the seal. I'm not sure the seals are going to be as respectful of the people as the people have been here, and I think it would be in everyone's best interest to move the seal to a location which is more natural, a place where the seal can live a natural life. We often see animals who have been in captivity and being dependent upon humans develop undesirable behaviors, and seals are no different. In fact, we had a situation on Kauai recently where fishermen were inadvertently encouraging a seal into an enclosed waterway because they were feeding the seal fish scraps, unknowingly making the seal dependent upon the fish scraps. So that was the kind of issue that we want to avoid in this situation. So we will be looking to relocate the seal to a safer environment that's more natural for the seal, so that they won't become dependent upon humans and won't develop any undesirable behaviors. We can answer some questions after next speaker.
Thank you, Bruce. So from the perspective of the city's Emergency Services Department and our Ocean Safety Division, the first thing I want to do is to thank the public for really heeding the warnings that we've been putting out. The last thing we ever wanted was either the seal or any member of the public to be injured or worse out here. And what I think we've seen over the last 40 days is an amazing event, something very unique, something we've really never seen here on Oahu in a heavily urbanized, heavily used beach park area. And it's been really terrific to see the kokua, to see how everybody has responded, and really how everybody's gotten along well together and kind of played pretty nice in the ocean out here and on the beach. So I just really want to emphasize that with the partnership with NOAA, with the partnership with DLNR, with the city, we've been successful to this point. in having this be a safe and really great experience. From the ocean safety perspective, we got real concerned when the seals started to go into the natatorium. It caused some distress with the mother. The mother started to get pretty upset about it, and it really did cause some concern for us that the mother may become aggressive towards people in the water. Again, the public was amazing. They heeded the warnings from the lifeguards. They cleared the water, and it just turned out to be another successful piece of this wonderful journey that we've been going on. But the journey continues, and it's been a tough decision. But we do not have a way, or really the will, to tell everybody they can't go in the water here. This is a heavily used area. This has traditionally been an area for everybody to dive and to fish, and you can see all the activity. And I guess in the best interest of the pup, we want to minimize the interaction with the folks here, and we know from experience personally at Hanauma Bay, where we used to feed the fish. We used to actually feed them peas and bread. I don't know if you remember those days, but what ended up happening is one of the fish populations, the Hinalea, exploded, and the fish actually started jumping out of the water and biting people. So we don't want that to happen here. And ultimately, we had to stop the fish feeding and let Hanauma Bay return back to a more natural condition where we now see all types of fish, and it's even more enjoyable. I think this is what we're going to see here. We're going to return the pup to its natural environment, let it grow up, let it become a wild animal, one that doesn't have to learn to socialize with so many people. And for that reason, we support this decision 100%. We think this is in everyone's best interest. And I just want to end with thanking our lifeguard staff. This has been really unusual for them. It has been something that thank you very much. They have just just taken this and rolled with it, and they've made it work. So I just really want to appreciate them and the volunteers who are here, day in, day out. So thank you to everyone, and with that, I turn it over to Joe.
Morning, everybody. My name is John Gelman. I'm with the Hawaii Marine Animal Response. For those of you who don't know, our primary responsibility is to act as NOAA's first responders on the island for monk seals and sea turtles, and to perform verification assessment, and to provide outreach and education to the public. When necessary, we also establish perimeters around these animals to give them a safe and appropriate distance from humans. We're now in our 40th day down here, and I really want to say I'm proud of all of our volunteers and staff who've put in hundreds of hours here, and we've had the opportunity to educate literally thousands and thousands of members of the public. So I want to thank our team for that outreach, and I also want to thank our government partners from the federal government, state, city, and county. It's been a great team effort. We were asked to provide input as well into this translocation decision. We agree that it's the best thing for this pup. And again, I wanted to thank the public for the great amount of respect they gave the animals while they're here. And hopefully, maybe we'll see the Rocky come back here in the near future, and we'll continue to see her on the beaches here for quite some time. Dan?
Yeah, the question was, will the seal be sedated for transport? And the answer is likely no. We've transported monk seals many different places, and very seldom is that needed. So they usually will go into the cage, and believe it or not, they'll just fall asleep. They'll at first be like, what's going on here? And then they just crash out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Catherine, go ahead.
There's nothing to really prevent Rocky from coming back here again next year and having another pup in this cage, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
We knew she was going to come here in the first place, but...
Yeah, Rocky has had, like we've said, 9 pups on Kauai, and for this year she decided to have one here at Waikiki, and we don't know why. We've asked her and she doesn't answer, but anyway, she may come back here. She could come back here the next year. We don't know. Or go back to Kauai. So why is it a problem for the pup to be interacting with people? So as was stated a little bit earlier, during this time frame, they're very impressionable, and they're learning about what it is to be a monk seal. And if the only thing they see is people, they're going to be conditioned to people. We want to take the seal to a place where there's other monk seals, where it can observe and learn and watch and be a monk seal. And so we have had cases in the past where seals like this have been born on a popular beach, and they have become imprinted or conditioned to people and have basically taken on what we call undesirable behaviors. So, for example, it may be that people are swimming with and playing with the seal, and that's kind of cute and fun for when the seal's 120 pounds. But when the seal gets to be 200, 300, 400 pounds and sexual hormones kick in, we've actually had situations where friendly seals then became demanding of the attention and to the point of not letting people out of the water. And that can be really scary if you're out there swimming, to be pulled under the water or not be let out of the water. And so again, we want the seal to learn how to be a seal and not to be a pet.
What was your concern with the Waikiki rough water? That's happening in a couple of weeks. And, 1,000 swimmers, is it not good for the baby seal?
Yeah, there's a lot of events coming up. The rough water swim. There's the Duke's race, or the Dad Center canoe race, where all the canoes come right into this beach. And just having all of those people around with a baby seal who's trying to figure out what life is about wouldn't be a good mix either.
Hasn't the mom, Rocky, been training the pup to be kind of familiar with this area? Wouldn't it kind of disrupt the raising of the pup by relocating?
Like I've said before, there's probably some observational learning going on from the pup to the mom. However, we've have enough experience doing this now that we've relocated pups before, and they've fared very, very well. So our theory or idea is that it's young enough in the pup's life that it can handle the change and adapt very well to the new environment. So we're not too concerned about that.
Do you do this at night, morning, logistics of it? How does that all work?
It's all up to Rocky right now. It's all based on her schedule, and we don't know when she's going to wean, but we'll be ready. We have a plan to be ready. Yeah.
After weaning.
Yeah, definitely after weaning, yes.
Why would it be easier to close the beach than, say, relocate the pup?
Should we have one of the state folks?
Yeah. Suzanne?
Or Bruce? Did you hear the question? Would it be easier to close the beach rather than relocating the pup? That's kind of a policy question. So.
Closing the beach would not achieve the goal we want, which is to create a much more natural environment for the seal. This is obviously not an area where seals would be comfortable, not a place where they normally live. So we're looking for places where the seals would be in a much more natural condition, so they can learn appropriate behaviors, model their behavior after other seals, not people. Even closing the beach here would be ineffective. The seal is going to be traveling further, exploring other areas, and venturing way beyond Kaimana if we let it.
What are your thoughts about the natatorium? I mean, in this instance, it became an attractive nuisance for an endangered, mammal. We're told that turtles go in there, other marine life. How do you folks, aquatic resources, look at that structure?
Well, there are hazards in the natatorium you don't see in other areas. Rebar that's exposed. The seal is probably going in and out of a large pipe that's was designed to allow water to flow back and forth into the natatorium. It potentially could be closed, but that wouldn't protect the seal from many of the other hazards that are associated with a structure that's deteriorating like that. And I must add, there are lots of other hazards in this area. There are lots more people who would be inadvertently feeding the seal. It's certainly not, Waikiki is not a natural condition for most seals. And we think they're much better places for the seal to grow up.
Will the tagging of Kaimana occur during the relocation process?
You want Stacy to take that? Stacy? This is Dr. This is Dr. Stacy Robinson, who's an ecologist with NOAA Fisheries.
Hi. In reference to the tagging, we like to tag weaned pups. We put a little plastic tag with a number in their flipper so that we can continue to identify them which is going to be important for monitoring Kaimana into the future and knowing when she shows up in beaches in the future. And yes, we will, just as part of one handling event so that we aren't trying to handle the puppet multiple times or create multiple instances of stress, kind of all at once. When we handle her for relocation, she'll be tagged at that point. She'll also be vaccinated against morbillivirus. And we may be able to put a satellite transmitter on her so that we can follow her movements and see how she's adapting to her new area.
Stacy, would you spell your first last name for the record and your title?
Sure. Stacy is Stacie, Robinson, Robinson, research ecologist for NOAA's Hawaiian monk seal research program. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve.
Audrey. For David?
There are areas on the Big Island as well as Poipu Beach on Kauai. Okay. Similar to this, but this is much more extreme than, say, Poipu Beach, with the fact that it's a very small beach and the number of people and the potential for interaction. So we've done this before, but we're considering this one of the more extreme events. No, like I said before, the weaning process is surprisingly abrupt from a human standpoint. Again, it's looked at as, some people may view it as a cruel thing, but it's nature. And so in some cases, the moms will go off on the first day and they may come back looking. Rocky in particular doesn't seem to do that. Most moms will just go and stay gone. But we were talking earlier about the Mokonui pup and the mom, and so we had a report of just 1 week later, the mom came back to rest on the same beach that the pup was, and it was like they didn't know each other. So that trigger, that hard wiring of being a mother, the switch had flipped off, and they went back to being two wild seals in the environment, kind of a thing. So again, it's try to look at it from the seal perspective and maybe not a human perspective, an anthropomorphic perspective. There'll probably be an observation period before the actual relocation takes place, but it'll be dependent on time of day, weather, all sorts of things. So it's a very fluid process.
How long would that observation period be?
Again, it's going to be hard to say based on weather, seal behavior, things like that.
Could it happen in the same day?
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
Is there any need to relocate the other pups over the boat?
No, we've watched that very closely. We're assessing that seal's behavior. That was in discussion at one point in time. So again, we did more or less a similar process of looking at the seal's behavior, weighing the risks and the benefits of moving, and it was determined in that case to leave the seal be. Yeah.
At one time, NOAA considered moving some of the monk seals to Pacific Northwest Island to more populated areas.
There was a period in the 90s where there was a male mobbing situation or male aggression towards females, and there was males that were moved down back in the 90s. Most of those males are no longer with us. They lived out their life. But there's been no other discussion about doing that at this time. Are we good to?
Relocation on the same, is there a formal policy to keep the pup on the same island?
Not necessarily. We prefer to keep them on the same island, but not if there was a situation that warranted, we would move. We moved a seal that was becoming overly friendly and biting Ironman participants on the Big Island. Moved that seal to Ni'ihau, but we're not at that place with this particular seal, so we're hoping to keep it on island. I think we should move on.
Yep.
Yeah.